Hello everyone! The Burning Legion has invaded Azeroth once again, and after Khadgar and the Kirin Tor teleport Dalaran to the Broken Isles, a Ravenhold courier approaches us with a message from Yorach Ravenhold himself. He requests our presence within the Halls of Shadows, where 3 different plans to obtain an artifact are ready to proceed. They want us to be their blade in the dark that vanquishes their foes, and it's up to us to decide which one to go for.
The Kingslayers are the only way to ensure the Legion's end. Hear me out.
Tess Greymane, daughter of Gen Greymane, wants us to go after the cursed daggers that took down King Lane, Varian Rin's father. Corona Half-Orcan was the one who killed him, and we'll dive into that history a little bit later. Now she hid the daggers away since their power is not to be underestimated.
Was that all?
Sorry, boys. Looks like we're going with my plan after all. Let's talk details.
Garona is also a member of the Uncrowned, and she is left to assassinate the leaders of a legion cult some time ago. They haven't heard from her since, and to make matters worse, she took the Kingslayers with her. She knows that they bring out the worst in her, and our best bet to find her is by continuing her work.
Stay alert, I'm afraid you're on your own out there until you can find Garona. I'd be recognized in a heartbeat that close to Alliance territory.
By following Garona's steps, we might be able to track her down, and intel points to a warlock by the name of Caden Shadowgaze inducting new recruits at the Altar of Storms in Blasted Lands. Another lead that may prove useful is Falcall Whitley, another of the cult's elites. He's eluded their agents at every turn, and their latest reconnaissance reports puts him somewhere in the village of Ravenhill in Duskwood. Both of them surely carry some vital information for our search, so we go out to kill them both, and we find Caden sucking the life out of veiled witnesses into some sort of orb, saying that their prophetic souls will fuel the Legion's coming. On his corpse, we find a coded message, and now all we need to find is some sort of decipher, and as luck would have it, that's exactly what we find on the body of Whitley, who was busy with a dark communion within the Ravenhill Inn. We pick up his fell cipher, and we use it to decrypt the coded message.
Brother Shadowgaze, it is time for our glorious ascension. Make haste to Darkshire. Sister Ebonlock has gathered the skull and blood of the innocents. She awaits your escort. May the Legion guide you. And do not forget to destroy this letter. We must leave nothing to chance.
The cultists seem to have a base of operations in Darkshire. At least Altia Ebonlock is a member, but it's likely that the entire Nightwatch has been compromised. The best course of action for now is to retrieve the dark implements for the ritual and make an attempt on Alfia's life. Corona will have to wait. In the town of Darkshire, we find that madness has taken over its citizens. In the town hall, Alfia Ebonlock, leader of the Nightwatch, stout defender of Darkshire, and part of many fond memories for Alliance players as they battled against Stitches together, they have, for some reason, decided to join the Veiled Hand and the Burning Legion. We cannot allow them to continue with this insanity, so we make an attempt at her life.
We will not be stopped! The Herald has promised us freedom and respect. We will not be denied. You will not interfere. The Legion will rise.
Alfia is able to escape, but she's not the only one that stepped away from the Alliance. The whole town seems in on it. Chef Kral is carving up the body of Morg Naltree while guarding the skull of the innocent, and within the Scarlet Raven Tavern, we pick up the blood of the innocent as Farron Darris and Innkeeper Trelane dare display dead on the bed. Only a small group of people, Yvette Felwood, Madame Eva, Sherry and Danielle Zipstitch, Ankerite Delan, Clerk Daltrey and Watcher Lattimore, they're all huddled together in a little house. Lattimore says, "How could they believe the Herald's lies? There's dark magic at play here, mark my words! Please, if you could do anything to stop this, do it now. So many innocent lives lost." We cannot bring back the innocent, but perhaps we can stop the cult from doing more damage. We've denied the hand, the reagents for the ritual, and we managed to buy precious time. Alfia said that they were leaving for Stormwind, so that's our clear destination, and outside the gates we finally catch up with Corona.
Let's move. I'll be right behind you. Great. It's Shaw.
Show yourselves. I don't have time for games.
Step aside, Shaw. All of Stormwind will burn unless we finish our work.
We're aware of the Veiled Hand's activities. The city is locked down while we handle the situation. No one enters these gates until this is resolved. especially the two of you. Stay out of this, half-breed.
Arrogant bastard. If we are going to find the Herald, we are going to need a diversion. Something big. Ah, yes. Find Agent Elling Trias in the Trade District. He should have a smoke bomb. If we set it off somewhere in public, the guards will be forced to react. While they are busy investigating the ruckus, we should be able to gather some information and act on it without the risk of heavy reinforcements. Until then, watch your step. The city is on high alert, and the guards will kill you on sight.
We can't let Stormwind fall to the Legion, and Garona doesn't trust Shaw or his SI7 goons to take care of the hand on their own, so we need to handle this while there's still time by sneaking in, creating a distraction, and find information. While we go through the city and not get busted, let's talk about the history of Garona and her weapons, the Kingslayers, also known as Anguish and Sorrow. As instruments of death, these daggers are exquisite. As tools of assassination, they are unparalleled, and every moment of every day that you carry them, they will seek to bend your mind to the will of their master, Gul'dan. Perhaps one day, you will be able to thank him personally for that fact. These daggers were forged to spill the blood of heroes and innocents. In the hands of Garona half-Orcan, they did just that. Anguish and Sorrow were named very well. In their history, they have killed kings, commanders, soldiers, magi, demons, and countless others. If things had gone a little differently, it might have been these weapons that allowed the first horde to conquer Azeroth. The story of these daggers begins on the planet of Draenor, soon after the Burning Legion had sunk its claws into the Orcish clans. So by the time that Gul'dan had found the Draenei and decided to turn the orcs against them and use the orcs to murder the Draenei. In the early days of the horde, Gul'dan had taken Garona under his care. As a half-orc, half-Draenei outcast, Garona had found survival to be brutally difficult since she was born. She had learned quickly how to avoid unwinnable fights and how to quietly kill relentless pursuers. Gul'dan bound her mind to his will and began to secretly train her in the art of assassination. She did not fully understand his intentions, but she grew to resent his cruelty. Still, she obeyed. Survival demanded nothing less. Garona proved to be skilled with almost any weapon she held, but Gul'dan was not satisfied. His grip on the Horde was still tenuous. Assassinating his enemies could backfire if the involvement of his Shadow Council became known. He needed weapons that would allow Garona to kill for him with impunity. This bit makes it seem like Gul'dan just found Garona as an outcast and took her under his wing, but originally it was said that she was actually part of his breeding experiments, and from before her birth, she was under his control. He magically aged her, he trained her in the ways of the assassin, and in time ensorcelled her, placing magical spells on her mind to keep her obedient and force her to do his bidding. The Shadow Council was Gul'dan's secret council, which ruled the Horde from behind the curtains. The Horde's first war chief held the solution to Gul'dan's problem. War Chief Blackhand and his clan, the Blackrocks, had the most advanced weapon foundries amongst all the orcs of Draenor. Gul'dan approached them quietly, asking how their ancestors had created the powerful, legendary weapon of Doomhammer. It was a gift from the fiery heart of Draenor, they told him. That was no help. Gul'dan wanted to break the orcs' reverence of the elements. Asking the Furies of Draenor for more weapons might strengthen it instead. Gul'dan turned to Gul'dan for assistance, imploring the Burning Legion for aid. The Deceiver saw the value of having a covered assassin at the Shadow Council's command. He gave Gul'dan strict instructions and the raw materials needed to create two of the deadliest weapons Draenor would ever know. War Chief Blackhand was intrigued by Gul'dan's request. The Warlock had asked for 2 daggers created from a mysterious type of ore that no orc had ever seen before, and he wanted them imbued with a power that would only reveal itself when the time was right. Blackhand agreed to make the weapons himself in his foundry. As he quenched the blades, he felt a terrible, dark presence fill them with unspeakable might. This was no elemental fury, it was the raw hatred of Gul'dan sinking deep within the daggers. Blackhand could feel the untamed agony radiating from the weapons. He named them Anguish and Sorrow, for he knew that they would never be satisfied unless they were drinking the blood of new victims. Gul'dan was delighted with the daggers of power. Not only were they brimming with the dark presence of a burning legion lord, but they were also imbued with the means to control the will of the one who wielded them. To test the weapon's potential, Gul'dan handed them to Corona and he gave her a simple command, and she obeyed instantly. An unfortunate Shadow Count's acolyte had no chance to defend himself before she tore open his throat with one slash. It was not a pleasant death, but it was fast, quiet, and efficient. When the orc took his last breath, the wound that killed him became irregular. Nobody would be able to tell whether he had died to a knife, an axe, or a spear. Gul'dan saw the possibilities of this immediately. A mysterious death could be used to sow confusion and redirect suspicion wherever he pleased. These daggers would prove to be extremely valuable. As the Horde waged war on the Draenei, Gul'dan dispatched Corona with care and precision. Influential orcs who expressed doubt or dissent were often found dead shortly after a skirmish with Draenei forces. The wounds did not look as if they had come from orcish weapons, so Gul'dan was never respected, nor was Corona. As a half-breed, she lived beneath the notice of most orcs, and those who did notice her saw only a servant of Gul'dan held on a tight leash. Her quiet work aided the Horde in securing victory against the Draenei, and then her blades helped maintain control in the war's aftermath. Life on Draenor withered due to the presence of foul magic, but tensions within the Horde stayed manageable. Whenever they didn't, Gul'dan gave the command and Corona obeyed. Her daggers were very busy. For many years, Corona was bound to the will of the Shadow Council. She obeyed them to survive. She killed on their behalf to appease them. She often dreamed of using these daggers to slay her masters, but when she woke, her ensorcelled mind buried those thoughts, keeping her loyal. Now when the Horde invaded Azeroth, Gul'dan ordered Corona to find the sorcerer Medivh and keep an eye on him. In time, Corona would reveal herself to Khadgar, Medivh's apprentice at the time, seeing humans as a potential means of escaping Gul'dan. Had she known that these daggers helped the warlock control her actions, she might have actually abandoned them, and history would have gone down a very different path. In the end, though she tried to resist, Gul'dan manipulated her into murdering the King of Stormwind, Lane Rin. Corona was now considered a traitor. She was forced to return to the Horde, bringing these daggers back with her. She did not receive a hero's welcome from the Horde. Warchief Blackhand had been killed by Orgrim Doomhammer in a Mak'gora. Gul'dan was in a coma, and his Shadow Council was on the run. Corona was tortured for information on the Shadow Council's location. The reason why Gul'dan ended up in a coma was because he was snooping around in Medivh's mind, trying to look for more power, for more knowledge. Medivh was slain by Khadgar, Lothar and Corona because he was a corrupted guardian with the spirit of Sargeras inside of him, and as you might imagine, being in someone else's mind while they're slain, it's not that good for your health, and Gul'dan slipped into that coma. Now this text says that Gul'dan manipulated her into murdering the King of Stormwind, but the king, he was still alive after they took out Medivh, and Gul'dan was still in his coma as she returned to the Horde. How is it possible that he was able to influence her while he was in a coma? Maybe his influence was still there while in a coma? I don't know. If it was, then why did he use Corona to kill Lane and not Orgrim Doomhammer and keep control of the Horde? I don't know, but either way, let's continue with the information. As the Horde moved to finish off the human-led alliance, Corona made her escape. With only these weapons and her survival instincts, she set out across Azeroth to find a new life. The poor Horde trackers sent to hunt her down, never really had a chance. Eventually, as Corona was pulled into the events of the Second War, she began to understand the power these daggers were exerting on her will. Even so far away, she could feel Gul'dan try to compel her back into his clutches. She sought out help of an undead mage named Metal Winterstorm, later to be known as Fellstorm, asking him to hide the blade somewhere beyond anyone's reach. Corona wanted to make sure that no other victim would die to them, and that no other mind would be subject to Gul'dan's tricks. These daggers remained buried for decades. Now this whole bit of the daggers taking over our mind, that's also new. In the past, it was purely the magical spells placed in our minds, and it seems like they're going with both, because if it was just the daggers that held control over her, then there was no need of leaving Madame with Meryl out of fear of being mind controlled and do him harm, because by that time, they hid away the daggers, no control, no problem. She would also not been able to be used by Cho'gal and screw up the meaning of Fedamore, and she wouldn't have such a big motivation of taking down Cho'gal during the Cataclysm. Cho'gal used those spells placed on the mind by Gul'dan. He was Gul'dan's apprentice, he knew about these spells. So that's the history of Corona and these daggers, and now she's wielding them once again against the forces of the Legion and this cult. We sneaked our way into Stormwind and gained some information.
Fine! Killing you myself will earn me a greater place in the New Order!
Where is the Herald? Speak!
You seek to delay the inevitable. The Legion will wash over this world.
So be it. Let's see how you handle the Kingsbane poison.
What is happening? My veins are on fire! Please! No more! I'll tell you everything! Just make it stop!
Where is the Herald? Speak, miserable worm!
He lies in the keep.
The keep will be heavily guarded. We should split up. At least one of us has to make it to the Herald alive. We don't have much time. Get moving!
We sneak into the keep, despite them doing their very best of keeping us out. And inside, we find some guards dealing with a ritualist casting fell winds. Nothing a quick shadow step can't fix.
Foolish orc! You will be the first to witness the Legion's arrival into my city. Long have I waited for this day. Let us not waste another moment. Ered Nash, Ila Mornu Nakun. Ered Nash, Ban Manari! They come!
Melris, former guard in the city of Stormwind, who had a post right next to the hero's callboard, has now allied himself with the Legion, gaining the title of Herald of the Legion. This is the man we've been looking for. Time to take him out.
You're too late, assassin. I have seen the beautiful gifts they have arrived. Oh, they're even more beautiful than I imagined. Do you not see? Can you not feel their warm embrace? Master, your servant requires aid. My plans will not be ruined. My destiny will not be denied. You will burn! Master!
Good. Our work is done. Being in this place with these daggers brings back dark thoughts. Impulses I've spent years trying to be free of. Take the blades. You've more than proven your skills as an assassin. Perhaps you can overcome the darkness within their steel.
Lower your weapons. We're not here to fight you. The king was never in danger, but where my men failed to stop this cultist, you did not. That spares you from prison at the very least. Go. Get out of my city before I change my mind.
Melris has been taken down and the threat of the Legion seems to be eradicated out of Stormwind. For someone who calls himself the Herald of the Legion, he didn't really seem to have much power. The minions that he summoned were quite weak. And who is this master that he was calling for? That's a story for another day, as this one is about Anguish and Sorrow, the Kingslayers, now in our possession with the blessing of Corona. Every second she held those blades were torture. These weapons do not have a history of glory. They did not earn honorable victories. They were meant to cause pain, and they have caused untold damage to both Draenor and Azeroth. Respect their power. Never forget the innocents who have died to them. Make the Burning Legion pay for every drop of blood their wielder was forced to spill. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this video. As always, subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time guys, see ya!